Hi, my name is Angel Baby Kyra. Make sure you like and subscribe. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I've been wanting to make this video for a while and do more makeup videos. Also, if you hear stuff in the background, I'm simultaneously watching The Black Swan. Anyways, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. But today's video, I'm going to be talking about my experience going to my first Grammy party and kind of just a little rant about like the music industry and stuff like that while I get ready and like do my makeup. So basically I went to my first Grammy party probably it was in October, and I was working with someone, a musician, was nominated for a Grammy, and he's a jazz musician, and this category was just like jazz, and like the other categories basically everything that wasn't pop music, you know. So I was still very excited nonetheless, and I didn't know that he was gonna invite me to this Grammy party. But basically, if you don't know, the Grammys is actually like consist of like 10,000 like voting members, so not everyone can vote at the Grammys or like nominate, you know. You have to like be part of the board or something like that. Basically what I was doing with him was just like helping him like get votes and like emailing people on the board, just like things like that. So it was nothing too crazy. But finally the day came when it was time to go to this Grammy party that he was invited to. It's basically someone else that was nominated, but he was nominated for the new age category. I was like pretty excited, but also very underwhelming, just because like it wasn't like, obviously it wasn't like a pop Grammy party, which probably would have been more crazy, and then like meet like more famous people. And I don't want to say like jazz is like irrelevant, because of low-key I feel like that's kind of mean, but I feel like no one really cares about jazz, you know. There's only like a few select people, and I feel like those kinds of people are usually like older and like, I don't know. I know it's kind of like the demographic at this party. There's like some people that were probably around my age. I went by myself when I was a +1 with this Grammy nominated jazz artist that I was working with, and it was just for me to like experience it and like make connections, because they always tell you like always meet people and then always like be open and talking to people. I got like a few Instagrams, a few emails. It wasn't really my scene, but I felt like it would be a good experience anyway. But something that I learned from this experience is that the music industry is like 90% of like about like who you know and like your connections, and then like 10% is about music, like actually about your music, because everyone is basically just using each other to try to get like a vote for the Grammys, or to get their Grammy vote basically. This is interesting. The guy that I was working with was telling me like, oh, this person's that person, they have a lot of good like PR stuff like that, and I'm like just finding out like all this tea about like people I don't even know, you know. So I thought that was kind of interesting that he was telling me all of these things, and I just thought it was like, I don't know, it's just like really discouraging. Well, it was discouraging to me just knowing like people are only getting voted because they know someone or they did someone a favor, or like everyone's basically like, can you listen to my new album, blah blah blah. But they were like telling me that, right? But as soon as I found out like I didn't have any like power in the Grammys, or like even had like the power to like vote for whoever gets nominated for a Grammy or a Grammy vote, just stop talking to you. So I was like, I saw through it like pretty quickly, and it was getting old pretty fast. And also it was like in Glendale, and there's not like this banquet, and like I said earlier, like it was for this guy who's from like India and stuff, and he did like new age music, and it was also like his birthday. So there's all these people, like literally everyone in the room was either nominated for a Grammy or have won Grammys before. Like, don't get me wrong, like that's cool that you got a Grammy, but also it's like got a Grammy for children's music, but you're like the only one in that category. Yeah, of course you're gonna win because you're the only one that's in that category, you know. Something else that I noticed was that like, I don't know, it's just like a really weird experience, because like I feel like I didn't belong there, just because like people are like, oh, like what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a music artist, and I like play with a band, you know, or like make music, I write music, but it's not like how they do it, you know. And something that like really bothered me was like, I was talking to this one person, and they're like, I told them like, oh, I went to school for music, and they're like, oh, you're a real musician then. Which like, I don't think that like is like necessarily logical, because like the Beatles didn't know music theory and they didn't go to like school for music, obviously. That doesn't make them any less a musician. Freddie Mercury band like went to school, obviously, but they didn't go to school for music. Like one of them was like what, a space engineer or something like that. So it's like I don't really like that kind of rhetoric and like that kind of like music environment, that like you're not a real musician if you don't go to music school, you know. It's funny that like it's like that there, but also in music school they didn't take you seriously if you didn't do like classical music, or if you weren't like a jazz musician, if you weren't an instrumentalist. Like if they, like the stuff that I do obviously is like more like pop music and alternative and singer-songwriter producing, and that wasn't like encouraged in our music department like at all. I think like the closest thing we had was like this thing called Songwriter Showcase, and even then it was like not like the best, if you know what I mean. And I just think like it was just super pretentious. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It was super pretentious, but also I guess that's just kind of expected because it's like a Grammy party for like jazz musicians and stuff. The food was alright if anyone cares about the food. Like I'm a really big food person. I'll show some pictures of, I still have any of what I wore to the Grammy party. There's like a red carpet, you know, but I feel like a lot of it was just like, a lot of it's just like, I don't explain, I don't want to say like a facade, but it is like a facade, you know, like it's not really anything, you know. It's just like, okay, so because you have money you can like do this, you know what I mean? Like everyone has to have money to be able to do this. A lot of them were very old, like probably up in their like 60s, and I hadn't like really seen like what I was telling you before, like I hadn't really seen like anyone like my age, but there were like a few people that were my age, but there wasn't anyone really there that I could like really connect with, or that like really like, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing in common that I had with any of these people, and I just felt like it wasn't like a good space to like talk to people or to like try to connect with people. It just really made it clear to me that like to do this and like to get to this spot and to get to this like level of the Grammys, that you have to have money. And every person that I talked to was like, oh, I'm going to Paris tomorrow, I'm going to Vegas the next day for like a party, and I'm just like, okay, like we get it, like you're rich, you know. And it's just like, it just really made it clear to me that like this is a kind of like industry, like I've only like heard about it. This is the most that I've been like actually involved in these kinds of like events and stuff like that. So it was like really like eye-opening, because like it's like there's people like this that can just like freely just do whatever they want without a worry. Because like if money wasn't like a struggle, obviously probably we'd be like living like this too. But like it's just weird to come home and like, you know, have to worry about money, and then there's all these people that are just like, you know, doing music, have all these like studios and stuff like that, and just like don't have like a care in the world, you know. That's just like cut to kind of life like that they like live, you know, which is like good for them, but also it's just, it just felt very out of touch, you know. And just, I don't know, I just didn't like it. It was a lot of like fakeness and a lot of humble bragging. But would I say that it was a bad experience? I wouldn't necessarily say that it was a bad experience. I think it was more so a learning experience, and more so like an experience to like realize a lot of things and really make me think about like music as a career and just doing this, because you know it gets really draining and it gets very discouraging. And I feel like just exposing myself to like different environments, you know, I think that really helps in like aiding like my direction of where I want to go with like my creativity and stuff like that. But also what I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be like this oblivious, out of touch kind of person. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like good, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I couldn't be myself. I felt like I had to like pretend to be someone that I wasn't, and it really made me feel bad like after, you know. But I guess that's just like learning about things and just having this like new experience. Like I was super nervous like going and stuff, and just like how do I act, like what is okay to talk about, like what isn't okay to talk about, like because some people are like super nosy and they have like no shame, you know. And I try not to be like that. Sometimes people just don't know like how to talk to people, especially like musicians sometimes, like especially when they're just practicing like hours and hours a day, like especially like classical musicians and jazz musicians, they like tend to like, isolate a lot and just focus on practicing and just that. Like that's like their entire life, you know? Like the musician I was working with, he was like, oh, a lot of these like musicians have like their husbands like pay for their studio time, because it's just like bored rich housewife kind of a thing, is to like try to get a Grammy or whatever. I have no idea like what these husbands like occupations are, but obviously they have some sort of power. Basically it comes down to like nepotism and like nothing about your music, like nothing. I'm pretty sure it has nothing to do with your music. It's usually just about who you know and like how you play your cards and your PR and stuff like that. Because one of the couples that were there, they're like a young couple, so probably a little bit older than me. The musician I was working with, like they're like the king and queen of PR, and the musician I was working with is like an older musician, so like I had to like help him with like social media and stuff, and just like he's not equipped for this kind of like social media PR that is like most common now. Instead of just doing like just blast emails, like he's like, I hate Facebook, I hate being on there, like I'd rather be practicing, blah blah blah. And it's like now you have to spend a lot of time on Facebook and social media to reach the people, you know what I mean? Would I go to another Grammy party? Maybe for like another kind of genre, maybe, but I don't know if I like genuinely would. Maybe like a pop Grammy party. I feel like those could get really fun. I just think like obviously jazz, I feel like that caters to like an older demographic, because I don't know a lot of like people like my age that actually listen to jazz. Like just like putting that out there and being like honest, like no one really listens to jazz, no one really listens to classical music. Like I would like firmly say classical music is kind of dead, because there's no like progression, there's no like, what do you call it, like growth in classical music. It kind of just stays the way that it is, you know? How much $3 whole dollars. $3
enough to pay for your meds.
Woo. That was basically my Grammy experience. I hope that was kind of entertaining, a little bit insightful. I've just been trying to make this video for like the longest time, but yeah, I think that's the end of this video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.